Hello everyone. I wanted to make this video to talk about the pass away of Bush Sr., the 41st President of the United States. And all across YouTube, many people have a very glim view of the president. And of course, I have one as well. He was basically a pumper of the military-industrial complex. He shilled for Wall Street and the Federal Reserve. But more importantly, what a lot of people don't really seem to talk about is that this former president not only gave us disastrous trade deals, but he accelerated the immigration problem. And believe it or not, George H.W. Bush is responsible for signing the 1990 immigration law. This follows the 1965 immigration law. Both of the bills were largely introduced by Senator Ted Kennedy. And it's important to know that this immigration law, the 1990 immigration, accelerated the flow of immigrants to levels above 1 million people per year. Okay, so it wasn't just the 65 law, it was of course the 1990 law that got passed. And of course the changes in society accelerated in the 1990s and 2000s. So as you can see here, basically both parties are largely responsible for the immigration that we have today. This is followed by the 1980 Refugee Act, the 1986 amnesty by Ronald Reagan, and then of course beyond the 1990 immigration law, you also have NAFTA. Now, NAFTA wasn't mainly on immigration, but it largely destroyed the Mexican economy, which accelerated more illegal immigration into the United States. Now, believe it or not, I understand the fact that the 1990 law was about legal immigration, and a lot of people think that legal immigration is not really a problem. But in some cases, it still brings a lot of issues into the table. Now, of course, we do at least have a process to know who these people are if they come in legally. Still, then again, a lot of people still come through a process that may not benefit the American people. Through chain migration, through a lottery system. Many of them come in and they have family members who are in the country illegally. And of course, many of them come here through a visa that doesn't come through a pretty strong and effective merit-based system. Of course, massive immigration, whether it's legal or not, can still have a massive impact on labor force in terms of competition, wages. It could strain the welfare system because it's proven that legal and illegal immigrant households consume welfare at a higher rate than Americans do. And by the way, the Americans that do consume welfare, a lot of them are single moms, believe it or not. Legal immigration can still have an impact on whether or not the person knows English. It can still overcrowd our cities. Not to mention, it can also have an impact on the voting population across America. And one example of that, of course, is the Culinary Union organization here in Las Vegas. They certainly had an impact on this election, and they're one of the largest immigrant groups in the area. In fact, in the U.S., from what I've heard. And they largely exist because of our immigration policy, not to mention that the industries, particularly casinos and hospitality, prefer to hire them over people who were born in the United States. And this, of course, has an impact on what kind of laws that we can get. All of this immigration accelerated the demographic change in the 1990s. And you can see here the largest change in demographics in the U.S., I believe, was in the 1990s decade. But that slowed in the 2000s because of the economy. This, of course, accelerated the white flight flow, as you can see in the map, which shows that all this immigration, which promotes diversity, isn't necessarily functional or something that really benefits our society. Because when neighborhoods change, people flee. Now, I know it's true that the president recently has made some reforms to reverse this immigration change. He's proposed his public charge rule. However, keep that in mind, though, that I still believe he has to go further than that. He still has to produce a merit-based immigration system so people who come into the country are more likely to have skills and are more likely to speak English. Now, to those people who are very frustrated with the demographic change, I believe one way to counter this difference is that if more, particularly white Americans, to have more children, to make sure that these demographics don't change. Now, of course, my main concern is the effects of immigration. Although it is true that generally more European-influenced societies are more successful, the important thing is, however, is do we have an immigration policy that benefits and puts U.S. citizens first? And the fact is, the 1965 and the 1990 immigration law did not do that. In fact, this can be the main legacy of George Bush Sr., along with probably his NAFTA proposal. Thank you so much. Please spread this video. Please hit the button to subscribe. Take care.